professors, vice chancellors, and faculty members from various educational institutions. It gives me great pleasure to extend warm welcome to all of you for this Upanyasa Malika or lecture series program. At the outset, on behalf of NAC, I extend warm welcome to all of you and special thanks and appreciation for joining this program. So far, we have completed 4 programs in this lecture series. In fact, this is the 4th one we are going to have it today. And then 4th, we will be having the next 5th lecture series program 5 in the month of March. That will be on 4th. We are going to start our program. And our main emphasis of our today's talk is on organizational culture. How higher education institutions can develop this organizational culture. In this aspect, we have got 2 parts. As usual, the first part is taken by our dynamic, visionary Professor S.C. Sharma ji. He is going to speak on the concept managing higher education. Followed by his talk, I am going to continue and explain and briefly present information pertaining to the organizational culture related to higher education. Let us start the program. Now I request Professor S.C. Sharma ji to start his talk.
Namaskar. In today's lecture, Managing Higher Education Institutions. Well, I'm grateful to all my colleagues of NAC, in particular Professor Srikanta Swami, who has initiated this program, a distinguished scholar, distinguished teacher, distinguished researcher. In today's lecture, Managing Higher Education Institutions. Well, there are a lot of problems and challenges faced by higher education institutions, such as administration, teaching learning processes, research and innovation, infrastructure, ICT facilities, and so on, students' problems, so on and so forth. Managing higher education institutions and managing the human and financial resources is a Herculean task. In fact, government sectors have its own, government colleges, government universities have its own inherent problems. So also privately managed universities and privately managed colleges do have problems. But certainly government has been very, very supportive and helpful in augmenting the facilities for the government colleges as well as for the private institutions also. We are extremely indebted and grateful to the government for all the schemes that has been introduced, that have been introduced, and it is really functioning very well. Today I am going to share some of the principles of management. What is management? The fundamental question is, it is the application of planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling functions in the most efficient manner possible to accomplish the objectives of the organization. Whether management principles apply to all organizations, large or small, for profit or not for profit, even one person small business needs to be concerned about the management principles, because without a fundamental understanding of how businesses are managed, there can be no realistic expectation of success. The most common reason attributed to failure is failure on the part of management. All organizations manage their functions with the help of an organizational structure that can facilitate processes of making and implementing decisions. Other elements of organizational management include functions and resources. Then there should be an organizational hierarchy which enables decision making at different layers in a democratic setup. Effective management coordinates the optimal use of material and human resources for the development All this is done on the basis of principles of excellence, simplicity of procedure, social equity, consideration and pragmatism by streamlining its processes and procedures. Education management is more human resource oriented than industry. We need to lay more emphasis on organization and management of people. Lack of resources, leadership crunch and direction, overlaps in administration, conflicts of centers of authority, wastage are other ills of mismanagement which are prevalent in many of the higher education institutions. Well, let me discuss about the principles of management. Failer's definition of management is division of work. Division of work is, a person cannot centralize himself and do at a time all the activities. Therefore, division of work and management principle is most important. One should be skillful and more efficient in it than they had a broader range of tasks. Therefore, a process where everyone has a specialized role will be an efficient one. The authority, when you get the authority, acquisition of authority, at that time the principal looks at the concept of managerial authority. It looks how authority is necessary in order to ensure that managerial commands are carried out. This is very important with responsibility and of course ethically also. And then the discipline, the principle relates to the fact that discipline is needed with an organization for it to run effectively. Most important thing is discipline. And then we have unity of command. There cannot be a crisscross. I say one thing and the counterpart says another thing. It creates confusion in the system and ultimately lands up in anarchy. There was unity of direction. All the hierarchical setup should congregate and have a meeting and give one particular direction in a very organized manner to achieve the objectives or goals. And of course, subordination, individual interest to collective interest. The interests of the organization as a whole should be taken into account. Group of employees, they should encourage team spirit and collective mentality of all is very important. And then remuneration. This is most of the cases. Yes, why do we work? Why do the employees work? Why do we work? We work because we should be paid a reasonable rate for the work but they carried out. We have legislation, so many legislations are there, Labor Act, and each state has, for example, in Karnataka it is called as Karnataka State KCSR, Karnataka Civil Service Rules, and central government has civil service rules. There are so many rules, but remuneration is, a very important concept. And centralization, the principle relates to whether decisions should be made centrally as in from the top down or in a more democratic way from bottom up. These are some of the things which we discuss. And scalar chain, this relates to the principle of clear chain of communication existing between employees and superiors. The chain should be respected unless speedy communication is vital. Order, this relates to the proper use of resources and their effective deployment in a structured manner. And equity, almost everyone, the principles of equity, managers should behave ethically towards those they manage. Almost every organization in the modern world will have a written set of policies and procedures which will outline exactly what is expected from staff at all levels. Stability of tenure of personnel, it is seen as desirable within an organization to have a low staff turnover rate. This is due to the benefits that come with having experienced staff and the time and expense needed to train new ones. There should be a clear and efficient method of filling any staff vacancies that arise. This is important. And initiative. Employees that have an input as to how to do their jobs are likely to feel more motivated and respected. Many organizations place a great deal of emphasis on listening to the concerns of staff. Then we have the morale. Keeping a high level of morale and team spirit is essential part of having most productive organizations possible. And naturally, happy and motivated employees definitely do fare well, and the output is productive. The key concept and functions of management. What is this key concept? Knowledge comes from field of management itself as well as many other fields. Most of early writers were practicing managers who developed broad principles of managers. Of course, in management, psychologists, sociologists, anthropologists substantially have contributed, and professionals such as mathematicians, accountants, economists, lawyers, political scientists, philosophers and so on and so forth have contributed to the discipline of management. Here, most important thing is the planning. For any organization, overall strategy is important, and of course we have the papers Robin and Coulter 1998 and Weinrich and Kuntz 2005 about decision making. And organizing functions includes determining what task has to be done by whom, etc. Griffith has very nicely defined this, and staffing depends on the managerial functions of staffing, filling and keeping filled positions in the organization structure. It involves choosing qualified right persons from among the prospective candidates. So, orienting new and appointed staff regularly, that is continuing education, like this helps the staff to cope up with their jobs. And then leading. Robbins and Coulter define leading function of management as every organization includes people, and management job is to direct and coordinate these people. This is the function of leading. Well, next is controlling. Naturally, by alignment, with a matrix, clear matrix, controlling phenomena of planning function, staffing function, leading functions. These are three parameters where metrics can be drawn and clearly it can be delineated. In order to ensure that things are going as they should, management must monitor the organization's performance at all levels. Governance in higher education institutions. Here, national systems designed to give effective to the orderly functioning of society and provide the conditions for markets to operate with great confidence. Internal organization systems of control and accountability should be seen. The control and direction of organization by governing board is very important. And of course, you have legislations and internal laws, bylaws, regulation, rules, guidelines, so on and so forth, and formal authority vested in particular positions and delegations of authority. This is important. Formal power to take decisions and how to make policy, make recommendations, provide advice, etc. with different academic committees. And planning, negotiating agreements, risk management strategies. These are some of the things which these elements have to be considered in turn to lead creation of other larger system. And another important element of governance system is designed to ensure that adequate checks and balances have to be done. Well, this in any organization it is bound to happen because there is a regular yearly audit which gives both academic audit and administrative audit, which gives a larger perspective of the organization, and we can also correct based on the audit reports. And academic governance refers to those elements of higher education institution operations where decisions are made on the basis of expert academic judgment rather than on grounds of operational necessity or management preference. There is this clear separation. Separation aims to ensure integrity of academic processes to ensure decisions on student grades, etc. Well, to conclude, we can have a clear understanding about the nature of higher education institutions, universities, colleges, types, training in the area of management of institutions, planning, organizing and implementation, conducting in-house training, involvement of faculty members, and then integrating technology in the process of management, adopting the principles of educational management, development of a good IDP, institutional development plan, developing organizational culture in the institutions. Thank you very much. Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank Professor S.C. Sharma, Director of our NAC, for speaking and enlightening all of us by giving a lot of references with respect to how the management can be carried on in higher education institutions. And he also concluded saying there are many factors which are to be considered to make the effective functioning of the higher education institution. Now, in the second part, I am going to speak on organizational culture and how we can develop this organizational culture in higher education institutions. It is a very interesting that this word or this concept, organizational culture, has got two terms. The first one is organization and the second one is about the culture. Already we have spoken so much about organization, and today we take this as a joint combination of two words like organization and also culture, which contributes to a new concept known as organizational culture. Now let me start by referring to the first one. By referring to this one or two anecdotes I would like to share as usual, and these anecdotes will speak much about whatever I am intending to speak for another 35 to 40 minutes. A new employee has organized a meeting at 10 a.m. I think before that I've got one more. One more is there, I think, correct? No, yeah, I think. Sorry, I'm going to start with this. Therefore, Roland is a subordinate in a military organization, and it's his first day on this location. In the morning, he has some very nice meetings with staff, including the friendly brigade general. When it's time for lunch came, he goes to the officers' mess where all seats are taken except at the general's table. The general is having lunch on his own. Roland takes a seat at his table and everyone stops eating to see what happens next, because this subordinate Roland is sat next to the general's table. The general is bemused. General was confused. Then he explains that this is not the habit. Lesson learnt as a subordinate, you never have lunch with the general uninvited. This here is an organization where certain conditions are there, implicit, unwritten, and the subordinates are expected to follow all these aspects there. And if someone is not going to follow, it is a duty of the head to just make him to understand the basic rules or tradition, whatever the organization is following. Now, the second one, a new employee has organized a meeting at 10 a.m. He arrives at 10 o'clock sharp and he opens the door, and another meeting was going on. And then the employee reminds the people inside that room that it was 10 a.m. and one man says, yes, we know about it. It is not still 10:10. It is not still 10:10 a.m. Unwritten rule is it was accepted, don't start meetings on time, and 10 minutes of delay is allowed in that organization. How do you take it? It is left to you. Therefore, every organization, in some organization, we come across some kind of flexibility. In some organization, we come across rigidity. In some organization, rigidity works well. In some organizations, the flexibility runs well. Therefore, which one should be followed? Should it be a rigid type of culture or should it be a flexible type of culture? I think you have to just refer to books, refer to organizations, refer to your own institution, have some kind of introspection. Then it is possible for you to come out with what type of culture that you wanted to have it in your institution level. Now, what is this culture? Everywhere people are talking about culture. They say work culture. There is a common term that you have come across. In some places, you also have come across people saying the work culture is one aspect. Then organizational culture, a technical term, is another concept. And apart from that, they say institutional culture. Like that, people research culture. People are using the word culture in a specific way, in a technical way. Therefore, I would like to just touch upon the simple meaning of this culture. And according to Taylor, he is an authority. He says that it is a complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, art, moral, law, custom, and any other capabilities. Therefore, beliefs are there, knowledge aspect is also included there, customs and traditions are also included. Therefore, culture is a comprehensive and a complex concept which includes many aspects. It has both materialistic as well as non-materialistic aspect. And there is a cultural pyramid people are talking, wherein they speak about the materialistic component of the culture and the non-materialistic concept of the culture. Now, what is this culture? Many will say culture is what we had. Civilization is what we are. How we were is culture. How we are is civilization. And when we are referring to the culture, culture has not come on its own. Influence of history is there on the culture. Influence of geography is there on the culture. And influencing of history and geography, ultimately, the influence of the environment also contributes for the existence of the culture. That's why culture varies from society to society. Western society, it has got its own culture. Eastern society, it has got its own culture. Culture is based on shared attitudes, beliefs, customs, written and unwritten rules. Both are there. In some society, written rules are there to follow. In some society, rules are not written. And then the written and unwritten rules that have been developed over time and are considered valid and habits acquired by man as a member of the society. We acquired our own culture in the process of interacting with the society, interacting with the members of the society. Then Sheehan, another person who described culture as a pattern of shared basic assumptions that the group learned. This is very, very important. It is a learned behavior as it is solved in problems of external adaptation and internal integration. Both are important. The organism internally should adapt, then externally also it has to adapt to the external conditions. That had worked well enough to consider valid and therefore to be taught to new members as the correct way to pursue. That is why elders will make the children to understand about the culture. Teachers will make the students to understand the culture. Then the organization makes its employees to understand the culture. Similarly, the higher education institutions. The thinking aspect is there, feeling aspect is also there. Now, the next concept is what is this organizational culture? Many will say it refers to the system of assumptions, values, then convictions and beliefs as accepted and commonly interpreted by the members of the organization. It reflects both the real and the declared values. Therefore, we have got the real values on one hand and the declared values on the other hand. Therefore, we have to make use of these two aspects whenever we are referring to the development of an organizational culture. It includes and organizational expectations, experiences, philosophy, as well as the values that guide member behavior and is expressed in member self-image, then inner workings, then interactions with the outside world and future expectations. Now, organizational culture is a set of explicit, as I mentioned, and implicit. It includes both implicit as well as explicit rules. It is influenced by core values. It is influenced by the norms or folkways and underlying assumptions. Among many different models, what experts are talking about organizational culture, like how to develop, there are different models that they have arrived at it. They have referred to various variables which are interrelated and which are connected and ultimately contributing for the formation of organizational culture. They have taken all those aspects. They have come out with different models, and one such model today I am going to just share with you is the computing values framework model, or it is also called as CVF, which was developed by Quinn and Robach in 1981 as a proper framework for organizational culture analysis based on the psychological archetypes. This is very, very important. Therefore, the model is equally important. And let us try to know about this model. After knowing about this model, you see how exactly this model is applicable to you. What component of the model that you can take it in order to have a better understanding. According to these authors, four aspects that they have discussed, or four types that they have discussed pertaining to the culture, organizational culture. The first one, they say hierarchy culture. Hierarchy culture, it is a type, represents a well-structured and formulated organization where formal procedures, rules, policies, and clear expectations bind the organizations together. The main strategic tasks are maintaining the stability and smooth running of the organization, which will ensure the organization's efficiency. Therefore, wherever you have referred to or you have come across organizations which are called efficient organizations, I think there you come across the existence of this hierarchy culture. In fact, NAC, we believe in hierarchy culture because it increases the efficiency of this organization. The second one is called the market culture. Market culture type represents an organization as a market. This means it is open to the external environment and there are numerous transactions which enable the organizations to gain competitive advantage and market leadership. Like the stock market people, they are influenced by what is going on in the market or what is going on outside. What factors are responsible in making fluctuation in the financial position. In that way, market culture is a type where they believe in outside factors, and according to the outside factors, they try to adopt and develop their own culture. The next one is called the clan culture. Clan culture type is like an extended family where every member takes care of each other, and it is a nice place to work. Such an organization is therefore tightly connected and teamwork prevails there. The main strategic objectives are building the commitment through mentorship, which enables personal growth and a positive working climate. I think we come across the closed atmosphere on one hand, open atmosphere on the other hand, and in the clan culture, I think some more closed atmosphere exists. And here the members have got a beautiful tie-up among themselves. A kind of adhesive force exists there. A senior member of the organization believes in mentoring the juniors and preparing them. Therefore, the clan culture, I think in some of the private organizations, private colleges, private universities, in some places, many family members are involved. Therefore, they wanted to have some kind of a homely atmosphere in the organization. But drawback may be there. But however, they believe that they have established and they have to go. In that way, they believe in clan culture, and many organizations even today they exist based upon this clan culture. The next one is adhocracy culture, which is a type in which a dynamic and creative. It believes in dynamism and also creative. It is a place for dynamism and place for creative, constructive productions. Therefore, the organizations is very flexible here, which enables innovations, growth, and the gaining of new resources. I think this is also equally important. Therefore, adhocracy culture, wherein you have got freedom, number one, and number two, you can go for innovations. And you believe that through this the adhocracy culture, it is possible for you to come out with innovations by means of which the organizations are more visible to the society, and thereby they can contribute and get good name. Now, dear participants, you have come across the 4 types which I have explained. Now you try to analyze on your own what type of culture that exists in your institution. Is it okay? Is it working very well? Or you wanted to move on from one type of culture to the other? Now we can see this diagram based upon the same thing. Clan, adhocracy, hierarchy, market, they are all interconnected. You can move from hierarchy to clan. When you are moving from hierarchy to clan, you are moving towards some stability, towards some kind of flexibility. Similarly, you also can move from clan, hierarchy to diagram, which explains which one you have to accept, or which one you have to accept, and then later on which one you have to take it at the second level or take it at the tertiary level. Now, there are many models existing with respect to the organizational culture, and here among the several models here, Martins has developed a model bearing in mind the ideal business organizations and the role of leadership in creating the ideal organization culture. Martin's model describes the interaction between the organizational subsystems like goals, values, structural, managerial, technological, psychological, and sociological subsystems. There are many subsystems there. In any kind of systems approach, there are many components which form the subsystem. Each component is a subsystem. Each component should work independently, and later on all these components should be connected and they should work with the collate, and at the same time they should be able to contribute together. In that way, Martin's model takes care of all the subsystems into account. Then the survival functions of external environment, usually the social environment, influence of industry or influence of corporate culture, should also be taken into consideration. The internal systems, which refers to artifacts, values, and basic assumptions and the dimensions of the culture. This is also a beautiful model wherein Martin explains that the dimensions of culture refers to the following mission, and wherein both internal as well as external factors are responsible. The internal-person relationship and leadership contributes to a greater extent. Organizational mission refers to how the institution's participants define the overarching ideology of the university. That's why when the NAC goes for visit, they do give emphasis upon the mission as well as the vision of the institution. The mission of an organization is an interpretive act that provides meaning, decision, and at the same time the purpose. Therefore, why you are existing as an institution? What is your purpose of existence? In what direction you want to proceed? What exactly you wanted to serve? I think beautifully the mission will speak about it. Then, in part, an organization's mission is defined by the history of its institution. But many times we have come across people have put a missionary statement just like that. But in some organizations, they said, all these years we have worked, and in the name of contributing and working for the cause of education, we have acquired some experience. We are converting our experience into our mission, and keeping that mission, we move with the missionary zeal to achieve our main aim, objective, and service motto. That is how many will just go and contribute. Then, as he has mentioned, Martin has mentioned, leadership also play a very, very, very important role in developing the organization culture. Yeah, if a leader believes in a particular type of culture, it is possible for him to develop that culture in the organization. That's why we say, as is the leader, so will be the led. The leader, if he is good, if the leader has got a clarity about the organization's aim, goal, mission, vision, it is possible for him to achieve those things within a short period of time. So, leadership is very important. Leaders enact scripts through an interpretive lens. That is a word that he is using. And leaders they can be function formally, or leaders can also function in some places informally. Similar, the manners in which the organization defines strategy and informations are not fixed uh, definitions, irrespective of organizational type, but instead revolve around cultural interpretations of what the actors have come to expect about how we do things around here. Therefore, here the main 1 or 2 points are leadership I mentioned now, and at the same time the culture, and how exactly the leader takes his responsibility to develop the culture or to add into the existence of that particular culture. It is the role of the leader. In fact, when Steve Jobs he released, always I used to refer to this, the famous is a smartphone concept as early as 2007, and how he has introduced as a CEO of an organization, how he has inspired his own members. I think that made the members of that organizations to contribute intensively in order to produce products which are having a very good name and brand name even now today. Therefore, I think leadership play a very important role. Then people come to believe in their institutions by the manner in which they interest and communicate to one another. Cultural norms surrounding such key issues as how decisions get made and by who is privy to information, and how information gets conveyed plays a key role in facilitating or impending organizational change. Socialization helps to determine what is important to the organization. Indeed, how individuals learn about the organization and what they learn, and the key signals for newcomers about what the organization values and how they should act. Now, this is equally important. In this slide, more emphasis is given to the role of members of that organization. How do they communicate to each other? Will they communicate in such a way that their communication carries more weightage in making the brand name of the organization, taking the flag of the organizations to a greater height, or will they communicate in such a manner that it decreases the image of an organization? Friend, this is an important point. Using my 45 years of experience, I'm just sharing this. Members are the ambassadors of our organization. If members are having good understanding, if members are having good commitment for the organization, and if members are having integrity about the organization, I think it is possible that the organization is going to get a good name within a short period. That's why people have been trained. People have been trained in such a way that they have to accept the organization. Somewhere we also speak about the job satisfaction. The organizations where I am working, it is giving satisfaction for me. My job satisfaction is very high. Therefore, I speak very high about my organization, my institution. Therefore, the members, how do they communicate? Very important. Even Sir, Professor Sharmaji also has mentioned about the integrity aspect, about the discipline aspect. Therefore, if discipline and integrity is not there, I think long range there can be a damage on the position of this organization or the brand name of the organization. Therefore, it is a responsibility of the head of the institutions on one hand, in order to socialize the people to the organization. That's why, friends, you may be familiar in the corporate culture. If anyone gets into the organization, they conduct what we call that induction program. And in the name of induction program, they are going to train the people. I think this is missing in most of the organizations. People will simply enter into the organization, but that organization has been built by many great people. People have sacrificed to build that organization. But anyone who is entering today XYZ, if they are not knowing the history, not knowing the tradition, not knowing the culture, how do you expect them to become the worthy members of that organization? That is a question that I'm raising. So kindly keep this particular point. You are the better judges. Some of you are having more experience, and you should be able to guide the youngsters in this aspect. I know many factors are there, but if you are too negative, it will not remain for a longer time. But if you are positive, it is possible for us to come out with solutions. It is possible to patch up many things. It is possible to resolve many things. In the process of resolving, it is possible that the members of an organization gets more faith toward the organizations to serve. Therefore, many aspects that I mentioned here, then straight away I proceed to why organization culture matters. Why people are talking about this organization culture everywhere. Institutions have been benefited by this organizational culture. If the organizational culture is very strong, sometimes people also will be using the word organizational climate, they say. And tell me the climate, what you are having. Like we also speak about that Mozambique, the season. And if it is too much of cloudy weather, I think automatically the energy level sometimes it comes down. A pleasant weather motivates us to work. If you wanted to go for a trip or a tour, I think you select a pleasant season, because in the pleasant season, in the pleasant atmosphere, probably you can relax better and you can get more benefits out of the tour that you have taken. Similarly, when the organizational culture is structured very well, developed very well, it brings a lot of benefits to the organization. And people also will say, organization, we have got open climate and we have got closed climate. Whichever the organization which has got closed climate, I think it is rigid. There your innovation stops. Wherever the atmosphere is open, it accepts innovations. It welcomes people of different innovative skills, different potentials. I think this is a beautiful area I'm referring to. Try to find out. Somewhere or the other in my other slides I may touched upon the variables related to organizational culture. But here I am referring to the organizational climate as one more concept parallel to this. There are tools available to measure the organizational climate of your organization, your institution, your college, your university. We can measure. After measuring, we can tell you whether do you have open climate or closed climate. If you are having a closed climate, I think the growth is restricted. If you are having open climate, the growth is open. Therefore, kindly keep this aspect also and go in search of some of the tools by means of which organizational culture can be measured. And at the same time, you also get some tips by means of which organizational culture can be structured and strengthened well. Now, the next one is about the corporate culture, everywhere people are talking. And educational culture is slightly different when compared to corporate culture. Because in educational setup, we deal more with the human beings. Dealing with machines sometimes may be easy. Most of the times may be easy because of automation. But when you are dealing about the human beings, it is very, very difficult. Management of machines may be easy. Management of human beings may be difficult. Therefore, you have to take some kind of positive points from both the sides. Therefore, now many higher education institutions are taking certain tips from the corporate culture by means of which they wanted to make their educational setup to have a better organizational culture. In that way, I think studies are also available. You can just refer to some of these aspects there later. Now, the next one is about the culture and shared values. Organizational shared values are there. Therefore, value refers to the worthiness. Shared values means that whatever that is worthy for you to speak, you have to share with the other people. And thereby, your culture becomes strong. Organizational culture is an effective control mechanism for uh, dictating employer behavior or employee behavior. Culture is in fact is more powerful way of controlling and managing employees' behaviors. Like you go to a temple or a mosque or a church, the environment itself, the culture itself controls us. How we behave there and how we behave in a marketplace. I think this example also I used to give very frequently. We see some difference. In that way, if the institution is highly structured with a good culture, I think discipline automatically comes there and everybody follows it. That's why we say in learning in psychology, conscious learning and unconscious learning. Conscious learning means I am aware I am seeing. I am aware lights are there. And I am aware that the gadgets are there. Unconscious learning, I may not be aware, but aware without my knowledge, certain things goes to my unconscious level. That's why sometimes whenever we are sleeping, in the name of dream, certain things will come and influence us. Therefore, I refer to these aspects here, conscious learning, and one more I call it as an unconscious learning. Both are important. Whenever we go and visit a good institution, a reputed institution, a world rank institution, you can come back and you can easily implement certain things. If you are not conscious whenever you are traveling, visiting, then automatically simply you go, you come back. Ultimately, if somebody asks, what is that you have seen, you are not able to explain. What is that we wanted to implement in our organization, you may not be able to explain. There was somewhere consciousness is very important. Conscious learning is equally important. With that, it is possible that we can develop a culture and automatically that culture controls the behavior of an individual. Now, friends, this is also equally important. In this slide, I am going to just explain to you about the organizational culture, wherein 3 levels, in continuation of whatever I have discussed earlier, 3 levels wherein you can have a conscious awareness. One is called the deepest level, second one is called the second level, third level, like the 3 levels of awareness you can have. In deepest level, below our awareness lie basic assumptions. Therefore, whenever you are having deepest conscious awareness, that means somewhere you are aware about certain assumptions. At the second level, we come across certain values. Therefore, your conscious awareness, you are moving with certain assumptions. Maybe they are like that. Maybe they are like this. And this is because of that. In that way, many assumptions you are referring. In the second level, you convert that into a value. Honesty may be, in terms of honesty may be working there. Integrity may be working in an organization. Leadership quality may be working in an organization. Dictatorship may be working in an organization. Somewhere or the other, we keep this particular aspect also in mind. And therefore, assumptions to value we move. And the third level is at the surface level, where we artifacts the whole thing, whatever we assumed, whatever the values that we have developed. Now, I think this diagram I have taken from a source now. I definitely express my sincere thanks to the source from where I have taken some of these informations, because my intention is to share this information for my better understanding on one hand, and at the same time making you also to get the benefit. Therefore, under the 3 levels, I said the inner level is the assumption level. I said no, we assume. The second level we call it as a value level. We come out with certain values based upon that assumptions. Artifacts means where we are going to create certain things visible to other people now. I think in that way, the 3 levels in an organization is equally important: assumptions, values, and also the artifacts. For example, in an organization, one of the basic assumptions of employees and managers share might be that happy employees benefit their organization. Therefore, assumption is if people are happy, organization will come up. I think this is, I also believe in it, because if people are happy, it motivates them to work more. If people are happy, it makes them to commit more. Therefore, in that way, the assumption is that institution is working well, maybe employees are doing very well. This assumption could translate into values which has like social equality value, high quality relationship or interpersonal relationship value, and then there may be the concept of expressing joy. In that way, our assumption leads to the values, and then the artifacts are reflecting such values might be in an executive open door where we come out and create so many objects, so many products we are going to create, maybe based upon that. In that way, all the three are connected here, and the artifacts are also equally important, as I mentioned now, like how a jewelry comes out, how a jewelry comes out. Flexibility, assume that with flexibility, objects can be changed, shape of the objects can be changed. Then the values, with hard work, it is possible that the flexibility aspect can be taken. And ultimately, with the values of aesthetic value, we can try to convert that object into and some other object where the aesthetic value is more. I think in that way, all the three are connected here. And then foundation of organizational culture is very, very important. If the foundation is very strong, how many stories of building you want, you can construct. If the foundation is weak, you cannot. That is how some institutions have started long back. They had very good foundations of organizational culture, whereas some other organizations, they have come recently, no proper foundation, but they wanted to build, but they are forgetting that unless they are going to have a big foundation with respect to this, they cannot build the very good organizations system. Now here, some more aspects I would like to share in this particular slide. The founders of an organization traditionally have major impact on that organizations. I think you have come across many people. How exactly? Like the Starbucks company are very familiar, or maybe the pizza, the Donald. Uh, like that, there are many companies wherein people who have started that company or an organization, they had a vision and they believed in some values. Therefore, they kept that as the basis, and based upon that, they start developing. That's why in the open market, whatever the top brands you see here, behind that you come across people who have sacrificed so much. They had a lot of assumptions and they have come out. Popular chips can be, or popular sweets can be. Many people have sacrificed. Therefore, here the first point says, and the founders, if they had good values, good belief, good vision about the organization that they have started, automatically it continues. Therefore, the ultimate source of an organization's culture is its founders. The founders have a vision, mission of what the organization should be, and accordingly it goes. I have come across, you also must be very familiar about certain organizations wherein the founder was a very strong man. Steve Jobs, I give the example, or Microsoft company leader, maybe another example. So many are there. We like everybody because all these great people, because of their vision only, they are able to do it. Maybe Google, maybe T-Mobile, AT&T, many examples that I can give in social, LinkedIn. All these people, they came out with a beautiful commitment. And even in the food industry, you can just see so many things. So I'm not advertising for anybody, kindly excuse me. But whatever the examples that I'm having in my apperception of mass, I am going to, apperception of mass means here, I am going to express the same thing to all of you for your benefit. The process of organization culture creation occurs in three ways. Founders only hire and keep employees who feel that they will do better. Now, this is equally important. The founders, why such and such an organization found by so and so is going so smoothly? Maybe Infosys is an example. because they will select people who are very good and who have got capability to carry on the organizations for future. This is very, very important. In any organization, if some bad elements enters, they may corrupt and influence, and they may try to block the people who are having enthusiasm to contribute for an organization. I think that's why most of the founders, they are very good in checking the entry of some bad elements to an organization. Therefore, that one example. Second one, the founders indoctrinate and socialize the employees to their ways of thinking and feeling. This is a beautiful point. That's why many organizations know how I built up. We had only 10 students. So many years back I started. Now more than 6,000 students are there. You know the struggle that I made. You know the struggle that I have gone through. Like that, some of the founders will try to pass on their struggles to other people and make them to know. Similarly, Stanford University history, if you read, you will come across. Any university, even in India, many good universities are there. People have struggled and they have built up these universities and colleges. Therefore, the second point is indoctrination, the way that they are going to influence the members. The first point, selection. Second point, indoctrinating, inducing them. And the third point in that founders concept of building the organization is founders' own behavior acts as a role model. Very, very important. Like many people there. Sir, look at that madam, how simple she is. Look at that person, how simple he is. Look at our director, how simple he is. Like that, somewhere, the role models of other people, especially those who are heading the company, I think indirectly they'll be influencing other people also to know. When my boss is not doing that, why should I use it? When my boss is not spending so much of money on that, why should I spend it? I think somewhere its influence is there. I request my beloved participants who are there in this group, kindly keep these 3 points also, so that it will be very much useful for you to apply in your institution. When the organization succeeds, the founder's vision becomes seen as a primary determinant of the success. Success cannot come all of a sudden. At that point, the founder's entire personality becomes embedded in the culture of organization. Now, as I said, there are many studies available, like organizational culture. Under that, they must have taken sustainability and organizational culture, or the success rate and organizational culture, or effective performance and organizational culture, efficiency and organizational culture. I think there are many. You can kindly look into some research studies. In some of the research journals, maybe Springer or Scopus Index journals, but into the area of commerce management, you come across some of these studies where they speak very high about this organization culture, including some of the social work and sociology related studies. Now, how culture are implanted in an organization? How do you do? How do you develop this? Sir, I think all these things is fine, but where do we start? How do we proceed? I think here is a nice example. And here, format statements of an organization's philosophy, vision, etc. And even in some organizations, the moment when you enter, a logo itself will speak. The moment you enter, a particular model, as I said, some kind of artifact that is available in one corner, that itself will speak the aspiration and ambition of an organization. Therefore, I visited one institute, one university, where they had the 3/4 arc only built. The other part of the arc or arch, what you call, is missing. Then I asked them, why this structure? No, sir, this is an indication that we are in the path of progressing. Therefore, there is no end for our aspirations. And we expect here it is incomplete. We want future people to come and complete that. In that way, the message is given there. Like that, the institutions can speak out explicitly through some of these aspects, like I gave one simple example. Next one, the design of physical space, work environment, buildings. I think through that you can communicate your own cultural aspects, your beliefs. Deliberate role modeling, training programs, teaching. Like in some of the organizations, they keep bicycles where a big campus is there. Therefore, they told our campus is environmental friendly, pollution-free environment, cycles, free of cost. Wherever they want, they can take a bicycle and they can go. Rainy season, they have kept the umbrellas in many places. People can simply take walk, and wherever they want, they can keep, of course, in a visible place, people further they can use it. I think in that way. Then the deliberate role modeling, training programs can be conducted at the institution level for managers, supervisors, principals, head of the department, deans. Then slogans you can come out. Then explicit rewards can also be given to people who are committed to the cause of the organizational culture. Therefore, some kind of reward, encouragement, and some stories, legends, and myths about how the organization was built. Make that idea very clear. I think this is equally important. That's why our youngsters are not able to listen to us. Sometimes you must have come across parents complaining. The reason is we have not socialized them properly, number one. And some kind of gaps we must have created because of various reasons. Therefore, at one stage, whatever you are going to say about your history, your struggle, how we have come up in life, they may not be able to accept. In one family, the younger generation was saying, my parents used to say about all these stories of struggle. I think they had that kind of fortune, and that made them to struggle and come. But we are in a different environment. Our financial position is good. Therefore, daddy, you are like that. It does not mean that I should be like that. You did not have money. I am having money. Therefore, let me enjoy. Why do you want to bring that story and then curb my facility and aspirations? A humorous example, a simple example, a humble example. In the same way about the organization also. Therefore, how do you just convince the youngsters in order to contribute for that? That's why I said stories, legends, myths can be just used. Then another 5 or 6 minutes I may take. Organizational behavior is another concept. We speak about human behavior, desirable behavior. What is this behavior? Everybody talks, sir, his behavior is not good, his attitude is not good. Behavior is the response of an organism to a stimulus that is found in an environment. Therefore, in an environment, a stimulus can be an object, a stimulus can be a human being. For that human being or an object, how do you respond? That speaks about your behavior. Your behavior may be implicit sometimes, or behavior may be explicit sometimes. How an individual is recognized based upon his behavior, in the same manner, organization is also recognized based upon this behavior. They call that as an organizational behavior. As is the organizational behavior, the totality of the behavior that exists in the organization, human beings, their behavior, and totality of these people, how they behave in an organization, that speaks about organizational behavior. And that contributes for organizational culture, and that itself will bring credentials to the organization. Therefore, 1 or 2 points I would like to share here. Organizational behavior is a field of study that investigates the human behavior within the organization, like the interface between human behavior and the organization, for the purpose of applying such knowledge towards improving an organization's effectiveness. In order to improve the effectiveness of an organization, how this behavior counts. Negative behavior, positive behavior, whatever it may be, but ultimately it adds to the organizational behavior. Organizational behavior is being studied increasingly, and it applies the knowledge acquired by the individuals and groups on behavior within the organization in order to make work more effective. This is equally important. That's why we have come across some organizations where openness is there. They encourage their faculty members to go for higher education, go for getting add-on courses, certificate courses, attending to online courses like MOOC, Coursera, edX, etc. Enrich themselves with this higher degree of qualification, which indirectly contributes for the organizational behavior. Whereas some organizations where they are close, they will never allow their faculty members to go and do their PhDs. They will never allow them to take up any other higher degrees because they may not be believe in those things. They believe that if by allowing the employees or the faculty members who do PhD, the usual work may suffer. But in my opinion, it depends upon the leadership. It depends upon the strategy, what the leader is going to do. It depends upon the skill and tactfulness of the head or of the leader. Accordingly, he can allow them, make them to complete, and after completing their course, they can come back and they can serve. Therefore, organizational behavior cannot change unless the human behavior is changed. I think there's a beautiful point that I'm stressing here. Now, the next one, the organizational behavior. As a result of organizational behavior, there are many topics closed with that. Decision making and organizational behavior, leadership and organizational behavior, motivation and organizational behavior, personality and organizational behavior. I think there are factors which are interrelated with the organizational behavior, and many studies are also available on organizational behavior. And thanks to the great researchers in the field of management, in the field of psychology, in the field of sociology, where they have expressed many aspects related to the behavioral component, how it contributes for. Now, to conclude, there are 2-3 points I would like to stress here. One is, after having heard this particular talk, what is that you are expected to do? Try to have true understanding of shared attitudes, beliefs, customs, and written and unwritten rules that have been developed over time in your organization. Therefore, try to know more about your own organization, how certain values have been inducted, how certain values have been inculcated among the people, relating to your core values, as a matter of fact, here. Then orientation about the organizational culture. Some can invite the people, ask them to speak on our organizational behavior. Some more experts are there. They are extremely good. They will train you. They present different models. And they also enable you to take up suitable models and adopt the same thing so that you can get the benefit of that model. Make the members of the institutions to internalize the values and shared beliefs. Now, friends, internalization is one aspect. Socialization is another aspect. Professor Ogburn and Ross, they have given the concept of what we call that socialization. Unless you socialize properly, you cannot change the behavior. That's why, as teachers, we tell the parents, better you socialize your child. As teachers, better you socialize the child. Socializing means making the student to know the values that are existing in the society, the norms that are existing in the society, folklores which are existing in the society. Unless I know about my own tradition and culture, I cannot be a worthy counterpart of my society. That's what is happening everywhere here. If I want to adjust myself to this beautiful society, I should be trained. I should be socialized about that. One important point. Then another one is called internalize the values. Now, how to internalize these values? Unless you internalize, you cannot change your behavior. You cannot act accordingly. Then monitoring some of these aspects. Somebody should monitor there. As I mentioned in the founders concept of building organization culture, founders used to take a lot of interest in monitoring, supervising, controlling, etc. Therefore, how do you think that some of these aspects can be checked in your institution to keep up the morale of your institution, to keep up the standard in terms of organizational culture of your institution, to make the openness of your institution more? Then speak out the best practices related to your organization culture out to the outside people. Tell outside people what you are doing. If by sharing whatever the good practices you are doing, it is possible that outside people may appreciate and they may encourage you. Now, friends, this is what I wanted to just share to all of you. And we are extremely happy that more and more number of participants are there with us. And that is a great force and source of inspiration for us to share the knowledge. So thank you once again for all those who are viewing, and thank my NAC, all officials who are inspiring and encouraging in making this program to continue for a longer time. Thank you, one and all. Thank you very much. Yeah, dear Samuel,
Yeah, sir. Thank you,
Madam
sir.
Ruchi, madam. Yeah. Thank you, madam.
Thank you,
Let
sir.
me
Any
know.
queries are there? No, sir. Huh?
Yeah, some questions, some of them
Yeah.
maybe have, please.
Okay.
Is it?
Yes, sir. Pushalakshmi here.
Yeah, somebody may read.
Yes, sir. I'm not able to see any questions. I request the participants to raise their hand if they have any questions.
Yes. No one is there. Two
Yes,
hands are there.
sir. Saroja Panda,
Okay.
you may ask your question.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. Am I audible to you? Am I audible?
Yes. Kindly
Sir,
go ahead.
Yes, it is really informative. Yours and Professor Sharma's. One thing I want to only actually get the knowledge about, should mission of an organization change with time? Supposing our founder fathers have one kind of mission, and as you have correctly told that present scenario, that mission might be little bit outdated. So should the mission again change, and what is the procedure for changing this mission actually? This is a very important point.
Yeah.
The mission will guide everything, organization mission.
Your good name, sir?
My name is Professor S.K. Panda, Sarojkant Panda.
Sarojkant Panda.
University.
Yeah, my special appreciation to you for having asked this nice question, because change is an important component in this world. Everything keeps on changing. As you said very rightly, 10 years back when I started, my organization was very small. I came out with a small missionary statement. Now, after 10 years, it has grown into a very big organization. Therefore, nothing wrong in it, in modifying that kind of mission. But in case in some places you wanted to take the approval, in some places you are permitted to do so. Therefore, in my opinion, if you think that your organization has changed, and therefore there is a need for you to bring change in the mission, in my opinion, nothing wrong in it. You can announce openly, give a rationale in your own website stating that we are going to change our mission because of 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think you can bring a change. Because everywhere change is happening, and if you feel that, sir, that was written 10 years back, 12 years back, now I think one or two important concepts you wanted to add to it now. I think make it explicit, but please make sure justification is important, number one. Making people to know about that is equally important, all those who are concerned, your stakeholders. And then the third point, you have to do justice to that by taking many kinds of activities in your organization so that that new mission can be fulfilled. Thank you.
Last question, one last question. May I?
Yeah.
So you talked about this Microsoft, Google, and AT&T. Just I want to know whether corporate culture should be followed in higher educational institutes.
I think I mentioned in one of my slides when I was explaining one of my slides, I mentioned that earlier these two were a little bit different, like maybe 10 years, 15 years, 20 years back. Now I think there is a need to adopt and follow some of the basic principles of corporate culture into our educational system. Nothing wrong, and many people already they are doing. In my opinion, some of the institutions which have got A++ grade or A+ grade, they have already adopted some of the basic principles followed in the corporate sector, corporate culture. But you have to decide how much to be taken, to what extent they should be taken, and is it necessary to take those things or not. You have to decide, and accordingly you proceed with it. I think I am open, and you also should be open for that. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Inderjeet, you may ask your question.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Swami. Yours was very informative discussion on organization culture. But I have one query. I hope you can throw some light on it. In fact, we normally talk of the organization culture, shouldn't we also talk about the organization climate also along with the culture, because they supplement may supplement each other, and some other additional viewpoints may also come into the discussion?
Yeah, I think I mentioned. Have you heard? I mentioned about that. When I was
Okay.
talking about the organizational culture, I
Yeah.
said some people also will use, especially in the educational setup, some people also will speak about the organizational climate.
Okay.
I did. Then under that category I mentioned, organizational climate can be open or it can be closed. Therefore, that is also closely connected with it. And there
Yeah.
is a tool known as organizational climate. Organizational climate I mentioned, no?
Yeah.
Discrepancy questionnaire, OCDQ, something like that. There are many tools available. Therefore, it
Yeah.
is very much necessary make the students to understand and make students also to understand that our culture is like that, our organizational culture is like that. Then our organizational climate is open, our climate is closed. Here it is closed, here it is open. Like that, make the students also to know about these concepts in the functional manner. Thank you. Good question.
Final question, Dr. Agneshwar, you may ask your question.
May I audible, madam?
Yeah, yes.
Sir, I'm Dr. Jageshwar Dev from a very remote place of Assam, Hailakandi.
Yeah.
As a college teacher in my states, I found that most of the colleges are not having the principal. Only in-charge principal are running the colleges.
Okay.
A very serious problem, because they are coming for 1 or 2 years. They are not very serious about the mission and all this others very mandatory tasks given by the NAC and all. My college, which is got A grade in 7 years ago, but still now we are not re-accredited due to the non-availability of permanent principal in my college. Kindly suggest us regarding the administration of such lapses and all such.
Yeah, thank you. In my opinion, this question is slightly different. However, I would like to answer. Number one, find out the cause why they have not appointed. Is it a private college or a government college?
It's a government college, sir, provincialized government college.
Exactly. Therefore, private colleges, I have visited Guwahati also and some of the places. In my opinion, government colleges do have this kind of problem. Even in Karnataka, we have got this kind of problem because of various reasons, like number one. Therefore, number two, how to tackle this problem? Unless you know the causes, you cannot. Therefore, try to find out the cause through your state administrator, why the principal is not allotted or appointed or deputed to your college full time. Then try to pursue in such a way that without that it may not be possible for us to take up many activities which are very much essential to go for NAC accreditation and get a better grade. Like that, you can bring some kind of influence on the part of the government and make them to understand. You have got to stake already state level quality assurance council is also there. You can go through them and it is possible that you can proceed. Then the second point quickly, you try being A grade, you can try to invite the other colleges and you can conduct some handhold exercise in making some of them to know about these concepts. They are not very new like, but may not be familiar, but lot of advantages are there, and kindly take initiative and proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think.
Yes, sir, one more question is there. Can we go ahead, sir?
Yeah. One more you can just take.
Dr. Suresh Rangarajan, you may ask your question.
Hello.
Yeah, Suresh. Yeah, Suresh, I'm hearing.
Hello.
Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir. It was very interesting talk that we have listened to the last 1 hour. And my question is that I am from Kerala. We have in Kerala, as you know, that there are different teachers association.
Correct.
Having a political affiliation. So
I agree.
how to inculcate organizational culture in such a circumstances, because they have
Yeah.
different orientation and
Yeah.
different political affiliation.
I agree. Suresh, your question is also very practical. Agree with you. But, with all this existence of these associations, still in Kerala, many institutions are doing very well, getting good name, getting good grades. That means they are not influenced by these political associations. Therefore, in my today's talk, I told you are concentrating on building your own institution, your own organization you are concentrating on. And wherever you think that the external factor will influence your organization in developing a culture, then you try to avoid that first. Where you have got more freedom without the influence of the external factor, keeping your principal, keeping your faculty members, keeping your management, keeping your stakeholders of your organizations, how best you can get all these things and build up this organization to have a own open culture. Thereby, I think your institution can be more visible to the outside society. I do agree. Therefore, best point, avoid anything that creates some problem to the association and give chance for them to interfere with your institution programs. In that way, you have to manage, start with that and you proceed. I think it is possible if you take the tips, whatever I mentioned now, work out with your principal, faculty members now, you start moving in that direction. Therefore, that really counts. You should have your own identity. Like how different people have got their own identity, it is something like building our own identity through our culture, keeping how the institution has come up, with what background it has come out in that way. I have gone to Thrissur and some of the other places. Many people are also doing well with all the direct or indirect influence of the political associations. But try to minimize, because our focus is our students, education, and their employment. In that way, if you can focus, possible. Thank you. Any last question, Ruchi Madam?
Yes, sir. Sir, there is any question, Pushalakshmi?
Yes, sir. Dr. Hanumat wants to ask question. He has requested.
Okay.
So, shall I?
Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Hanumat Sastry, you can ask your question, sir.
Yeah. So, very good evening, sir. It was a nice talk, and we gained some beautiful knowledge from your speak.
Thank you.
Sir, I have a question. So, as you mentioned at the last of your presentation, some of the universities, especially the private universities, have adopted certain kind of open culture where they have obtained A++ grade and all. So that's fantastic information you have provided us. Sir, other than the private universities, the government universities which are have got A++ grade. So any idea of what culture they are having at present, sir?
Now, I think it is very difficult to say what type of culture that they are having. Number one, difficult to say. And then it is possible that organizations with open culture getting A grade, organizations having closed culture getting A grade, both the possibilities are there. Because the assessment procedure, though it gives weightage to the organizational culture, but not so much. Therefore, that is difficult to answer your question. But I can just say, though there are government organizations, they are doing very well because they are open to the change. Then they have got they wanted to compete with the private organizations. To give one or two examples, in Karnataka, there are at the school level, I have come across some of the students who are studying in some private schools, they left and joined the government schools because they had more facilities, various kinds of activities were more, not completely like book oriented or examination oriented education, but they had other facilities and other support. In that way, here, in my opinion, private institutions, government institutions, we cannot compare. Number one, both are good. Both the places, I think, they are not up to the mark. That is the reality. But here, all those who have got, they must be a little more open to the change, open to innovations now, That's why some of the government organizations must have got A grade. Therefore, I feel they are open to innovations, open to change, and they are they have got benefit from good orientation about the A&A process. Because of all this, they must have got it. That much I can just tell you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Over to Ruchi ma'am, Dr. Ruchi Tripathi ma'am.
Thank you, Bhushalashmi. Good evening to all. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this unforgettable occasion. Myself, Dr. Ruchi Tripathi, Assistant Advisor, NAC. Let me first of all start by giving glory to the Almighty God for making today's occasion booming. First and foremost, I thank our director, Dr. S.C. Sarma sir, for delivering a talk on management of higher education. Sir, thank you once again for your precious inputs, and also we are grateful to you, sir, and your guidance has always encouraged us. I also express my heartfelt thanks to Dr. S. Sirikanta Swami sir, academic expert, research and analysis wings, NAC, who made an incalculable speech on organization culture in higher education. Sir, you are one of the backbone of this event to become successful. Thank you once again, sir. I thank Professor Abhi Kumar Rath, sir, Advisor NAC, for his welcome remarks and making this event a great success. Thank you, sir. I thank all the distinguished participants for sparing your valuable time for making this program successful. Before concluding, let me express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to coordination of this program, our advisor, Dr. Ami Kumar sir, our academic expert, research analysis being Dr. Srikant Swami sir, for making this program a memorable. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by our team, a very motivated and dedicated colleagues, which include our advisors, deputy advisors, assistant advisors, consultant, academic, administrative staff, finance staff, SFLO staff, all the good hearts who worked behind the screen. Last but not the least, I thank our NAC ICT team for their cooperation in making this event a resounding success. Finally, I leave you this inspiring quote by Swami Vivekananda ji. We want the education by which character is formed, strength of mind is increased, the intellect is expanded, and by which one can stay on one's own feet. Once again, I thank you all for your attention. Thank you very much. Sir.
Praise Babu and all others. Thank you. Thank you. From my side, thank you, Ruchi madam. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I'm closing the session, sir. Thank you.